Well, another week of the college football season is here. The Auburn Tigers still searching for their first SEC win. Welcome in, everybody. Jerry Humphrey III, Simone Eli, joining you for this week's edition of Head to Head, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Appreciate their support, of course. Jerry, Auburn still looking to right the ship. They're going to go to Fayetteville, try to do it against an Arkansas team that has a different coach with a familiar name there in Fayetteville.
Yeah, no, for sure. Both teams are looking for their first conference victory. So I think it's a lot riding on this game. A lot of
Yeah.
people are saying Hugh Freeze is coaching for his job right now. So a lot of both sides of the spectrum,
Yeah.
lot of big things on the line this weekend.
So Auburn loses to Missouri in double overtime. And of course, Missouri is a different Missouri team than maybe what they were 5, 10 years ago. However, Auburn certainly had an opportunity, several opportunities there to win that game. And a lot of course, finger pointing goes down when situations like this happen and concerns about Hugh Freeze's status. What is the latest that we know about Coach Freeze? Because I think some folks are sitting here refreshing social media, seeing a lot of coaches in college football lose their jobs. But right now, Auburn rolling with Coach Freeze going into this Arkansas game.
Yeah, he's going to remain a coach, for this week. I think there's nothing for sure, as of right now, but I think Coach Freeze is feeling that pressure. He's feeling the heat right now. I think he knows that he's kind of coaching for his job as we speak.
Yeah.
So, depending on the outcome this weekend at Arkansas, we can possibly see, that move. So there's nothing, for certain as of now, but it's definitely heating up.
Yeah, no doubt. What's kind of the messaging that we're getting from Coach Freeze? I know I heard a couple of the sound bites from his, Monday press conference, and just kind of wondering what it is the energy's like from players and guys as they kind of try to get the ship turned in the right direction here going into the rest of the month of October.
Yeah, they're just staying strong. I think team captain Champ Anthony, he said something really good saying, he doesn't think this is death. He doesn't think that the season is all the way over. So they have the right mindset as of right now. It's just
Yeah,
all about putting it on the field. And
yeah,
I think, in those critical moments, those critical downs, I think that's what Auburn wants to improve on this week because that's really been killing them. You look
yeah,
at how they started each game, they've scored on, their opening drive against Georgia and Missouri. But when you go into the fourth quarter, you can't find a way to have that same momentum that you had in the
yeah.
first quarter. So I think that's kind of like what Freeze and the guys are trying to put together this week is how can we get the momentum that we start a game with? How can
Hmm.
we end the game like that?
Yeah.
Because that
Fair
just
question.
seems like that's just a question that everybody's trying to figure out the answer for is like why can't we, finish out games as strong as we starting them out?
Yeah, Jerry, really good points, no question. I think a lot of concerns about what's happening with the quarterback situation. Of course, we've said back and forth. Is it Jackson Arnold holding on to the ball too long? Is it the guys up front not really getting it done in the ways they need to, and maybe a mix of both? Maybe some play calling situations. Maybe they just don't all mesh together very well. Is there going to be a change at quarterback? Have we gotten any indication at that as of this recording? Of course, information that you have.
So Monday, Freeze said, the expectation is for Jackson to start on Saturday. He did say, Ashton Daniels is going to prepare like he has been these past two games if he was the starter. He said kind of this week in practice, they were going to go day to day and seeing like which one is, the strongest guy going into Saturday. So, in practice on Tuesday, Jackson got the first team reps, looks pretty solid.
Mhm.
Ashton didn't have the cleanest drive in their scrimmage, but I think Ashton is going to continue to prepare as if he's the starter. And, whenever they do make the change, he'll be ready.
Yeah, and well, there's already been a change made over there in Fayetteville when it comes to their head coach. Of course, we know Sam Pittman was let go following that huge, massive loss to Notre Dame several weeks ago. Since then, Arkansas has lost 2 games, but has shown fight, so to speak. Right? I mean, there have been 2 close losses to Tennessee and then Texas A&M, 2 teams who are above average SEC programs. No question about that. Right now, Arkansas 2.5 point favorite there in Fayetteville. What does that tell you about what this game could look like, Jerry? Kind of what's the state of this Arkansas team really looking for a big win there with their guy back as the head coach?
Yeah, I think the state of this game is huge because if you look at it, both teams are winless in the SEC. So The winner is finally going to get in that win column, and I think both teams really do want to get that first SEC victory. So you got to
Yeah,
look at Arkansas's team. They have one of the best offenses in the SEC. They've gone toe to toe with a lot of their conference matchups. You look at last week against Texas A&M, they took those guys to 40 points,
yeah,
and they lost by 3 points. So this is going to be a team that can score the football. So all eyes will kind of be on, Auburn's top 20 national defense. And they've played well. They've answered the call, but
absolutely.
can Auburn's offense, match, the points that Arkansas's offense is going to score? So that's
Yeah,
that's kind of been like the real question this weekend. It all starts, with that ground game. Let's
yeah.
get the ground game running, and we've seen how effective Auburn's offense is, when a ground game is going.
Yep, all fair points, Jerry. No question about that. Give me your prediction for this one, man. I know it's going to be a game where I think you said it best. Coach Free is probably coaching for his job when they go to Fayetteville on Saturday. What's you think?
Um, they said Arkansas is a 2.5 point favorite. I kind of have to agree. I right now I may say like an Arkansas 24-21. I'm hearing that the weather conditions aren't going to be the best, so I don't think that's going to be in the biggest favor of Auburn right now. So, it's just so hard to choose Auburn right now because of what I've seen, through
Yeah,
4 SEC games. So, right now I'm pulling in favor of Arkansas.
I'm gonna grow with if it is dead down the line in terms of where it could go in my mind, I feel like I'm gonna go with my heart, and I would love to see Auburn get the win. So I'm gonna go, 24-21 Auburn victory. I think it could really go either way. Honestly, I think all fair points. I do think it's gonna be a big momentum game. Who can come out, maybe get something done early on, and kind of just have that momentum. It's hard to do on the road in the SEC, regardless of where you're playing. So a lot to play for, despite both of these teams not having an SEC win. There's no question about that. All right, Jerry, very excited to introduce our brand new segment, the Cattle Drive Out of Town segment. Of course, again, brought to you by the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. Jerry, the Auburn Tigers go to Fayetteville. If they had to drive one coach, a player, a fan out of town, who is it going to be there against, of course, the Hogs in Fayetteville?
Well, I mean, Arkansas's interim coach Bobby Petrino, he's no stranger to motorcycles. So I would say, if they drive him out of town, and
Oh, man.
Auburn could get their first conference win, I think that would be a classic SEC moment.
Jerry, come with the jokes on our debut of the Cattle Drive Out of Town segment. I love it, my guy. Appreciate you, man. Good stuff all around.
Brought to you by Alabama beef farmers and ranchers.